Holy shit, basketball fans. The WNBA just witnessed a brutal takedown that nobody saw coming. Basketball legend Cheryl Miller absolutely obliterated Sheryl Swoopes on the All the Smoke podcast, calling her a big dummy to her face while defending Caitlin Clark against months of jealous, baseless attacks. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a public execution of Swoopes' credibility. But Miller didn't just stop at destroying Swoopes. Her fire-breathing defense revealed something shocking about the Indiana Fever's future that has fans losing their minds. The basketball icon who coached Clark in the All-Star game dropped insider bombs that completely shatter the garbage narratives that haters have been pushing. This is the confrontation we've all been waiting for. Three-time Player of the Year, two-time national champion, Olympic gold, the first woman to dunk in an organized game. When she opens her mouth, you shut yours and listen. That's exactly why her appearance on All the Smoke sent nuclear shockwaves through the basketball community. Miller didn't come to play nice with Sheryl Swoopes' year-long vendetta against Caitlin Clark. She came to burn it all down with two perfect words that have since gone viral. You big dummies. Miller was asked about that time and cleared up a few narratives, had Caitlin Clark's back, talked about Clark and Reese playing together on the floor and how they actually worked really well and were simpatico. So a lot of interesting stuff from Cheryl Miller. And I know, whenever somebody of prominence who's been around the game, the old guard, if you will, doesn't push Caitlin Clark to the side and embraces her, that has a certain impact on her fan base, and the pathetic feud that Swoopes has waged against Clark since her college days has been puzzling to everyone with a functioning brain. For reasons that reek of jealousy and bitterness, Swoopes has targeted Clark with a series of straight-up lies that paint an unfair picture of the rookie who's single-handedly saving the WNBA. Well, let's rip apart Swoopes' most ridiculous claims against Clark and watch how Miller's insider truth bombs completely annihilate them. The age fabrication, Swoopes' first desperate lie, in what has to be her most blatant bullshit claim. Swoopes told the world that Clark was a 25-year-old playing against 20-year-olds during her college career. This pathetic attempt to diminish Clark's record-breaking achievements by implying she had some unfair age advantage was a straight-up lie that anyone with Google could disprove in seconds. The cold, hard truth, Clark was 22 during her senior season, literally the normal age for any college senior who didn't redshirt. When called out on this obvious falsehood, Swoopes weakly muttered something about COVID eligibility rules, an excuse so flimsy it wouldn't convince a toddler. Miller, who's actually coached Clark and knows her personally, didn't dance around this garbage. You big dummies, she declared on the podcast, dismissing Swoopes and other critics with the contempt they deserve. The studio erupted in laughter, but Miller was just getting warmed up. The 40 shots nonsense. Swoopes' mathematical meltdown. Not content with age fabrications, Swoopes doubled down on her Clark hate tour by claiming the Iowa star takes about 40 shots a game, painting her as some selfish stat-padding gunner who doesn't care about her team. The actual numbers tell a completely different story. Clark averaged 22.7 shots per game in her senior year. That's not even close to 40. It's barely more than half of what Swoopes claimed. But here's where it gets deliciously ironic. Swoopes herself averaged 19.2 shots per game during her senior year at Texas Tech. That's just 3.5 fewer shots than Clark. The audacity of Swoopes to criticize Clark for taking too many shots when her own college shot count was practically identical showcases the absurd double standard Clark has faced. Miller wasn't having any of this hypocritical garbage. Is she getting hyped? Yes, Miller acknowledged about Clark's media attention, but she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were. I can't fault her for what she was given. The record-breaking denial, Swoopes' most pathetic attack. When Clark was closing in on the all-time NCAA scoring record, Swoopes' attacks reached a new level of desperation. She questioned the legitimacy of Clark's achievement, suggesting Clark needed a fifth year to break it. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that players set it. This was a straight-up lie that's so easily disproven it's embarrassing. Clark shattered the scoring record in 4 years. the exact same amount of time as previous record holders. What Swoopes conveniently ignore is that COVID eligibility rules would have allowed Clark a 5th year, but she chose not to use it. Let that sink in. Clark could have played another year and put the scoring record completely out of reach, but she chose to enter the WNBA instead, and Swoopes had the nerve to question her accomplishment. Miller, who understands greatness when she sees it, wasn't going to let this slide. She might be cocky, but for good reason. Miller fired back. She's confident, and I love that about her. The media had their narrative, and I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth. The won't dominate prediction. Swoopes failed prophecy. As Clark entered the WNBA, Swoopes boldly predicted she wouldn't dominate in the league. But as Clark began breaking rookie assist records and establishing herself as one of the league's premier playmakers, Swoopes mysteriously went silent. The numbers don't lie. Clark finished her rookie campaign averaging 19.2 points and a league-leading 8.4 assists per game, silencing the doubters and securing Rookie of the Year honors. When confronted with these facts, Swoopes pathetically tried to backpedal. I didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was, I didn't think Caitlin would come into the league and dominate immediately. Reality check. Leading the entire league in assists as a rookie, while scoring nearly 20 points per game, is the definition of domination. Swoopes' prediction was so spectacularly wrong, it's almost comical. Miller, who's forgotten more about basketball than most analysts will ever know, saw Clark's brilliance up close, watching her pass. I didn't know how talented she was, and how well she sees the game in a 3D version. Miller marveled. Defensively, a lot better than I thought, and gave her credit for the All-Star Game revelation. Miller's insider bombshell. What makes Miller's defense of Clark so powerful is that she's not speaking from speculation. She's speaking from direct experience after coaching Clark in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game. Miller had a front-row seat to evaluate Clark's game beyond the highlight reels, and what she discovered surprised even her. I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth. Miller revealed, effectively dismantling months of media spin in a single sentence. She went deeper, offering rare insight into what makes Clark special. Watching her pass, and I didn't know how talented she was, and how well she sees the game in a 3D version. Defensively, a lot better than I thought. Behind Miller's technical breakdown of Clark's skills lies something far more significant, a genuine emotional bond formed in the trenches of Clark's most difficult moments. When the Fever finally secured their first win of the 2024 season, Miller didn't just congratulate Clark, she offered her something almost no one else had: unconditional support. When the rookie needed it most, she was getting hit with everything left and right. Miller recalled, I hugged her. I said, I'm so proud of you. Savor this. Use this as a formula, but keep being you. No matter what, keep being you. That embrace between Miller and Clark after Indiana's first victory wasn't just a casual interaction. It was a pivotal moment that revealed just how isolated Clark had felt during the storm of criticism surrounding her entry into the league. Miller remembered the raw emotion of that interaction. I gave her the biggest hug that I could. When she saw me, she was like, oh man, finally somebody who's on my side. The double standard, race, gender, and expectations. Miller didn't shy away from addressing the elephant in the room, the swirling vortex of race, gender, and expectations that has surrounded Clark's entry into the WNBA. Heavy is the crown that she's wearing right now, Miller observed, and it wasn't something that she self-anointed herself. It's something that's been placed on her head. This acknowledgement of the immense pressure Clark faces is crucial. The rookie has been thrust into the spotlight as the face of women's basketball, expected to save the WNBA, while simultaneously being torn down by some of the very legends who should be supporting her. Miller, who knows what it's like to be a pioneer, connected with Clark on a level few others could. One thing that I said to her when she was heading into her senior year was, have fun, no matter all the static. Make sure you find that quiet place. This advice wasn't just about basketball. It was about surviving the maelstrom of attention, criticism, and expectations that comes with being a transformative figure in sports. Miller sees in Clark not just a talented player, but someone who's carrying a burden similar to the one she once carried, the unseen brilliance. While much of the attention on Clark has focused on her scoring ability, Miller highlighted an aspect of her game that many critics have overlooked: her exceptional court vision and passing ability. You can set a screen for Caitlin. Caitlin don't need a screen, Miller explained. Caitlin's got great handles. The one thing that I don't think people really appreciate about that young lady's game, she can pass. She can't pass. She got great assists. Miller became particularly animated when discussing Clark's bounce pass, a fundamental skill that she believes is underappreciated in the modern game. The bounce pass is powerful, which is almost non-existent in the game, Miller observed, highlighting an aspect of Clark's play that transforms her from merely great to potentially transcendent. This wasn't just praise. It was validation from someone who recognizes basketball brilliance when she sees it. Miller's assessment goes beyond the highlights and stat sheets, focusing on the basketball IQ that separates the good from the great. The Fever's future, Miller's championship prediction. What makes Miller's perspective especially valuable is her unique position at the intersection of player development and media narratives. During the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, she witnessed firsthand Clark's greatness in real time, and in one straightforward observation, she dismantled months of false narratives being created by the old guard. Looking ahead to the 2025 season, Miller didn't mince words about what she sees in Indiana's future. Indiana has a very, very bright future, she declared, coming from someone with multiple national championships and Olympic gold. That assessment carries weight that basketball insiders immediately recognize. What impressed Miller most wasn't just Clark's individual talent, it was the collective fearlessness of the entire Fever roster. This is not a team people want to play, Miller observed. Not only are they getting better, but they're confident, and they share no fear. They're fearless. That psychological edge, the willingness to compete against anyone, is exactly what championship teams need when facing adversity. Perhaps most surprisingly, Miller found herself stunned by the basketball intelligence on display from the young Fever squad. I did not count on their basketball IQ being that high, she admitted. I knew it was high obviously, because they play at this level. But it's one thing to know, this cerebral dimension, the ability to not just execute but understand the game at its deepest levels, is what separates good teams from great ones, and Miller sees it in abundance in Indiana. The legacy connection. Passing the torch, the mutual respect between Caitlin Clark and Sheryl Miller isn't just for show, it's a foundation for something potentially championship-worthy. Clark herself has acknowledged Miller as one of the pioneers of our game and praised how her personality radiates. What makes this connection so powerful is how genuine it feels from both sides. Miller has been blown away by Clark's abilities, particularly her court vision, which she describes as seeing the game in a 3D version. This isn't just empty praise, it's recognition from one of basketball's greatest minds. When Miller told Clark, "I'm so proud of you, savor this, use this as a formula, but keep being you," she wasn't just offering encouragement, she was passing the torch. While certain critics continue their tired campaign of misinformation, this Clark-Miller alliance represents everything that's right about basketball's generational connections. The future in Indiana isn't just bright, it's championship caliber. With this kind of mentorship in place, as Miller summed it up, it's working, and it was only a matter of time. Great narratives, great storylines, but now the bottom line comes down to one thing, it's about basketball, and it's about wins. And with Caitlin Clark leading the charge and Sheryl Miller in her corner, wins are exactly what the Fever can expect. Sheryl Miller's defense of Caitlin Clark isn't just a takedown of Sheryl Swoopes, it's a passing of the torch from one basketball legend to the next. While Swoopes and other critics continue their desperate attempts to tear down the WNBA's brightest star, Miller's words remind us that greatness recognizes greatness. The truth is out. Caitlin Clark isn't just living up to the hype, she's exceeding it. And with Sheryl Miller now publicly in her corner, the sky's the limit for what she can achieve. Don't miss a single moment of this incredible journey. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next video. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Are you Team Miller or Team Swoopes? Let us know.